Coming up on this Friday edition of the San Francisco 49ers Report, my name is Chase Senior. I sat down on Radio Row here at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis with Jennifer Lee Chan, who covers the 49ers for NBC Sports Bay Area. What did the Niners do in the draft? What did the Niners do in free agency? Will they be aggressive? Will they continue to retool this roster with a little bit of a roster reset and build through the draft? It's all coming up right now, so enjoy it. Here at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis with Jennifer Lee Chan of NBC Sports Bay Area. Jennifer, really appreciate you taking the time to join me here on the 49ers Report. You were there for John Lynch's press conference on Tuesday. You had an opportunity to talk with him with local media. Then you sat down with him after that as well. Just your overall takeaways from what he had to say in those conversations going into this 49ers offseason, and where you kind of think the Niners are going into a big offseason period.
It seemed like he's confident with who they have. I mean, obviously they're going to replenish the roster with the draft, but when I asked him about the pass rush and the defensive line, he's like, well, we just have to get these guys healthy. So I don't think they're going to make a big splash during free agency. Yes, they're going to use all the picks that they have. You know, if there's a way that they can trade and get more picks, maybe. Obviously they need a partner to do it with. But when I asked him about that pass rush, he was like, you know, we just have to get guys healthy. It's Nick Bosa, it's Michael Williams, it's Alfred Collins, all those guys coming back healthy. That's going to help their pass rush. He called Nick Bosa a force multiplier. You know, he makes everybody else better. So when you have a healthy Nick Bosa, it does change how the pass rush is.
Yeah, and you get Nick Bosa back, you get Michael Williams back, you get Fred Warner back, you have Raheem Morris replacing Robert Saleh. I've said this on the show, like, I think this Niners defense is in a really good spot. If you do look at that defense, John Lynch did say the other day, we want to prioritize our pass rush. We were 32nd in sacks. We need to do a better job of consistently getting after the quarterback. Part of that last year was injuries, and I thought Robert Saleh did a great job of maximizing that unit. But if you go away from the defensive line, which I do think they target in some way, shape, or form in the draft or free agency, what do you think some other needs could be to fill as far as holes on the defensive side of the ball to just get a little bit better?
You know, it's interesting because they've got some good guys. And like he said also, all 11 guys on that draft class from last year are still on the roster. Junior Bergen is on the practice squad. But, I mean, they actually retained all 11, which is pretty amazing. You had guys that are young. I think they need to get Nick Martin on the field more. They need to see what he can do. Can he be up there? Because there's going to be some change at linebacker, right? Fred Warner's going to come back. He's going to be full force. But, you know, what do they do with D. Winters and Tatum Bethune? Nick Martin is their succession plan. They've got to get him in there and get him good snaps because he doesn't have as much experience. Upton Stout did an amazing job last year, and your backfield is set. You've got Diamond Lenore on one side, Renardo Green on the other. So I think on the defense, they are, like you said, in a good position, but they do need to supplement and add depth across the board.
John Lynch said that Kyle Shanahan handles the coaching hirings, but obviously Kyle and Raheem go all the way back to the early 2000s. This is the fourth time that they're going to be on the same staff together. Even though John Lynch didn't really play a role in hiring Raheem, seems to be really excited about that move to replace Robert Saleh. Good communicator, good leader, a lot of good energy. I think Robert Saleh does a good job of balancing Kyle out. I think Raheem can do the same. I really like his scheme adaptability, but it seems like the Niners as an organization really pumped up about Raheem Morris.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Shanahan and Raheem do go way back, and it's not, you know, one of the strengths of Kyle Shanahan is that he went through defensive meetings when he was starting out his career. Raheem did the same thing. He went on the offensive side and worked with Kyle Shanahan. So to be able to see both sides and how each side works, I think makes each one of them better at their jobs. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is who he is because he knows how defenses are going to try to attack him, and that's how he schemes it up so that he has the numbers advantage or the leverage advantage. So Raheem is the same way. He's going to take advantage of what he knows on both sides of the ball.
When you look at this Niners offense, a lot of injuries, but I do think a problem for this offense was the lack of speed and ability to separate at the wide receiver position, and that especially got exposed in Week 18 and in the divisional round against Seattle. Now, of course, Seattle's a really good team, and they have an excellent defense. They won the Super Bowl. They're the champions for a reason. But what do you think the Niners can do on offense to kind of help close that gap with the Seahawks? Because that's the team that is now the hunted.
I mean, everything is timing based, and I think the one element that they were missing was a wide receiver. I mean, no Brandon Ayuk, no Deebo Samuel, Ricky Pearsall was hurt, Jauan Jennings was injured for most of the season. Demarcus Robinson learning the scheme. Kendrick Bourne, great guy, also kind of getting back into that scheme. And you really need a smart wide receiver to understand what Kyle Shanahan is asking. Yes, Kendrick Bourne had a great start to the season. He and Mac Jones have a lot of chemistry. But when it got into it, when there was film, it was a little bit more of a challenge. And they need a smart wide receiver that can separate. Now, Ricky Pearsall is a guy that can do it. I mean, we've seen him. There were some routes that he ran last year when he was healthy, and the cornerback is like, where is he going? But he just needs to stay healthy. Unfortunately, in my crystal ball of what happens to the wide receiver position, he's going to have a great season where he's really healthy. This is his third year, and then what happens? We go into fifth-year option, and then again, do we have more wide receiver contract drama coming up? I don't know. I mean, hopefully not, but I think Ricky Pearsall and a guy that can stretch the field. They need to have a speed element. Jauan Jennings is amazing. He is a tone setter. He makes sure that everybody on the offensive, like on the field when the offense is out there, is giving 100%. You never doubt his effort. But you need a guy that can stretch the field out, and that affects everything. If the defense has to play honest because a wide receiver is running a deep post, and you believe he's going to catch the ball, and not just running a post to run one, then you have, you don't have to block as long on the offensive line. I know there's always criticism outside the building on the offensive line, but if you have that, the box isn't as heavy. Christian McCaffrey gets open. He has yards after catch. George Kittle has yards after catch. So that speed element, just that one element being taken out of Kyle Shanahan's offense, changed everything for him.
Yeah, I agree. Hopefully they get a little bit faster. Somebody who can get vertical either in the draft or in free agency. You had a clip go viral the other day because you asked John Lynch about the offensive line, how the Niners see it compared to the perception outside of the building. What'd you think of his answer? And for those not familiar, like, what did he say about the offensive line? Because I see my comment section and people are like, gotta improve the offensive line, gotta improve the offensive line. I'm here talking to a bunch of people at the Combine, and people who cover this league and look at it from like a macro sense, National Football League level, nationally say Niners need to improve their offensive line. But it doesn't really seem like the Niners see it that way.
I mean, they have one of the best, obviously, at left tackle with Trent Williams, and I think a deal gets done there. But when you have such a heavy box, because everybody is thinking that the ball's going to Christian McCaffrey, because it did 99% of the time, they're going to key in on that, which makes the job of the offensive line much more difficult. If you look at the paychecks that the offensive linemen get when they leave the 49ers, I mean, that kind of gives you an idea of what the rest of the league believes in how the offensive line performs for Kyle Shanahan. Now, could they be better? Absolutely. But in conversations I've had with, guys from Dominic Pooney and Trent Williams about Jake Brendel, I mean, they hold him in such high regard. The job that the center has to do, I don't think any of us really know, unless you've played that position, how much goes through their head before the ball is actually snapped. I mean, I think he does a really good job. Trent Williams talks about it all the time, how he's one of the smartest guys in football. So, yes, they could get better, but also when we're looking at the offensive line, you can see when a guy makes a block, you can see when he misses one. But what was his assignment? I mean, there was that whole debate with John Feliciano in the Super Bowl. Like, he knew what the play was, he knew what was going on, but did everybody else? Not until he said it. So, I mean, it's so hard for us to judge how good an offensive lineman is if I don't know what his job is. Like, is he supposed to go the right first and then the left? Is he supposed to go to the left? Are they all supposed to pull the left? Who missed their block and went to the right? We just don't know those things. I mean, only the offensive line, the offense, and Kyle Shanahan and the coaches know what their assignment was and if they missed it or not.
Offensive line play is very nuanced. Where Jake Brendel is really good is as a run blocker. He's graded out really well as one of the top run blocking centers in the NFL. Where he struggled is in pass pro, where his pressures given up the last couple of years have been among the lower portion of centers in the National Football League. But as you said, very nuanced and complex up front in the trenches along the offensive line. What do players say about Jake Brendel that maybe the casual fan doesn't know that you alluded to there?
Just what he does. Like, he's so smart, and when he sees things happening on the defense, he is a really, really good communicator, and that doesn't always happen. One of the things that Trent Williams told me, Connor Colby stepped in at left guard for a while, and he's like, the way they communicate, Trent Williams will say alert. And so Hunter Colby, as a rookie, doesn't know exactly what Trent Williams is alerting him to, but when a guy next to him has experience, he can say one word and they know what the change is. They know what's happening on the defensive line. So it's just all of those things, all the communication that happens pre-snap that is disseminated throughout the line and everybody behind them that makes what they do, what he does effectively. And it's impossible for us to know what all of those different things are.
Awesome insight right there. Two more for you. You said earlier you don't think the Niners make big moves, big splashes in free agency. They've got north of $50 million in cap room. Last year they ate over $100 million in dead money. That was the reset year where they let a lot of players go because they wanted to focus and hone in on drafting and developing. Do you think this offseason is more of like that reset hybrid rebuild year where they once again prioritize drafting and developing by getting these young players in the draft who are cost-controlled assets as compared to splurging in free agency?
I don't think they splurge. But crazier things have happened. But I think they're going to be smart with their money because they still want to infuse the youth. John Lynch joked, he's like, John Weeks and Thomas Morstead are killing him because they're both 40 years old. So, the average age of the team is just so skewed because those two 40 and almost 40-year-old guys on the team. They've got to get Eddie Pinheiro under contract, and I think they've got John Weeks done. I don't know if that's kind of an incentive, like, hey, that's where consistency is so key, is right. So they've got John Weeks done. All right, Eddie, we're going to bring John Weeks and Thomas Morstead back. So yes, we're going to pay you more, but everything that you had last year, you're coming back to that this year because guys that are 40 and Thomas Morstead is, I think, a physical freak. Have you ever watched him during pregame warm-ups? Yeah. It's insane.
I don't know how he has his legs behind him and bends back the way that he does. I would tear my ACL.
Yeah, and I've been kind of near him when he's warming up, and he doesn't care who's next to him. His legs are all over the place. He's such a great guy, very interesting, but yeah, just a fanatic about keeping his body in shape, which is why he's still doing it at 40. Yeah. But as far as free agents, I think they would. I don't think Maxx Crosby is going to be. Yes, that would be fun. Joey Bosa is a free agent. They have dreamed about playing with each other forever. So I don't know if they could get him at a lower price. That might be kind of fun. But fun isn't what they're after. They're after winning championships. So whoever can help them do it. But yes, I think the draft is a huge focus for them, and infusing that youth into the roster is really important.
Last one for you. A lot of people don't realize this, but you and I, we're sitting down here to talk Niners on Radio Row, but a big portion of this is going to the other side of the drapes here and talking to a lot of NFL draft prospects to see who's met with the Niners, who could fit with the Niners. By being here, you can talk about prospects if you want. I know we're very early in the draft process, but what's your kind of sense on what the Niners might do, where they might lean in the draft?
I think wide receiver is something that they definitely have to hit on because they have had, guys that haven't panned out yet. Jordan Watkins is a guy that they want to see. Jacob Cowing had that hamstring injury. They need both of those two guys to get on the field and perform. Jordan Watkins was the darling of training camp last year. I thought he was going to have an incredible season. George Kittle brought his name up a couple times, and then he just couldn't get on the field because he was injured. So they need to bring another wide receiver in, like we talked about, a guy who's, who can bring speed to the roster. I think they need to look at tight end. George Kittle is coming back from an Achilles injury, and I think that he's going to be George Kittle when he comes back, but he's also 30. You've got to have a contingency plan. They've got to start thinking about, who's going to replace Trent Williams, who's going to replace George Kittle. Those are the kind of the guys that they need to kind of find, where they don't have to get on the field right now, but they can get valuable lessons. They can learn, they can grow, learn from George, learn from, everybody on the coaching staff, and then grow into who can replace them.
Jennifer Lee Chan, NBC Sports Bay Area. Follow her work there. Obviously crushes it with Matt Mayoko as well doing their podcast. And then subscribe to her YouTube channel as well because she's joined the YouTube community as well.